So the process to vaccinate nearly 500,000 teachers and school support staff will kick off today. Private and public school teachers will receive their single-shot Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine.
So about 300,000 Johnson & Johnson vaccines have been earmarked for the campaign, with more, we're told, expected to arrive soon. Our reporters are stationed in various provinces across the country. Ziyanda Ngcobo is in Tembisa here in Gauteng. Mweli Masilela is in Kanyamazane in Mpumalanga. Ziyanda, I want to begin with you this morning as we continue to unpack, what this means in terms of our inoculation plan. Several questions being raised about who is eligible for these vaccines. What are you hearing?
A very good morning to you, Michelle. Indeed, there are questions around who exactly is going to be vaccinated. All we know is that an odd 582,000 educators are going to be vaccinated over the next 10 days. Well, that's the plan. But I've got Steve Mabona from the Gauteng Education Department. Thank you very much, Steve. I suppose let's start off with what exactly is going to be taking place here today. We know that the Education Minister and, of course, your Principal, Banyaza Lesufi, will be here this morning.
Yes, indeed, we can confirm that the Minister will be monitoring the situation here, because you know that she already took her jab. And we have the Deputy Minister, Ndate Pasha, from Health. He will also be monitoring, Gauteng, and the MEC will then be taking his jab. Just to lead the way, to say to educators, let's all take this opportunity and take the jab, because over 125,000 of our employees, including admin staff, will be taking the jab. So we want to take this advantage and make sure that we utilize it. We are saying to our educators, they are fortunate. The education sector is fortunate because there's a lot of sectors that are dying to have this opportunity.
Steve, there are questions around whether or not, you're going to give educators over 60, or is it all the educators? Because, the question then becomes, you may be vaccinating, for example, a 26-year-old teacher who may not have any comorbidities, and yet we haven't even finished vaccinating, some who are over 60.
No, but remember, the over 60s, some of them took advantage and went and they registered probably in the EVDS earlier, before this decision was taken to prioritize educators. Surely some of them, they are done. So in our system, what we are doing, we have then submitted the information from our side to be captured in the EVDS. But if one is already received, surely those are not going to be that they are disqualified already. If you have probably received a flu vaccine within 14 days, you're not going to be vaccinated. And all those categories, we'll just make sure that those that don't qualify, they are not vaccinated. But then we'll utilize the space and make sure that all those that need to be vaccinated, they are vaccinated. So monitoring very closely is the information that we have submitted to the Department of Health, and it's been captured. And that's why when you come on the day, you must come with your identity and the details of your medical, so that then the process is verified.
Of course, we are in Gauteng, and this is now the epicenter of the coronavirus in the country. We know that the Health Department has given about 10 days of people collaboratively with the Education Department. Are you confident that all the teachers in this province, I think you said 125,000, will be vaccinated in 10 days, given the problems that we've seen with this vaccine rollout program across the country?
Look, our plans are clear. We presented our plans to avail our educators, and to a certain extent, in some schools, in 2 days they will be done, in some in 3 days, in some, it varies from school to school. So we know at what level a district or a school will be done. So we know the first batch that we've received, we will receive about 52,000, and we know that next week there's another batch that will be coming. So we'll then continue with the process. So from the planning perspective, we are ready, and we are sure that we will assist Department of Health to implement this.
Are you getting the vaccine today?
No, look, we are not a priority. We are admin staff, So the priority is educators. We just want to make sure that they are taken through the process. And when the time comes when we finalize, then probably we will then receive it as we are in the education sector.
Well, you say the teachers are priority, then explain to me how the MEC is getting a vaccine today, given the fact that he's not a frontline staffer, he's not going to be in the classroom. There's arguments that there are many other people who should be prioritized more than someone like Banyaza Lesufi.
No, MEC is a political head, is the leader. He must show that this thing, it works. There's myth around it. There are those that are saying we don't want Johnson & Johnson, they prefer something else. So he's taking it to say, look, those educators that are skeptical, those educators that are saying, no, I don't want to do it, they see him doing it, and then they will follow through. But he's in the education sector. We don't need to forget that. He's in the sector. In the event of anything, you know that we are on the ground. We interact with our schools. We don't sit in our offices and say we're not going to a school. So he's on the ground. So that is not interacting. I mean, it's something that really we can talk about it the other day. But you know that the character that he is on the ground, and definitely is leading the way. So educators must see from him.
Well, thank you very much, Michelle. That's Steve Mabona. He speaks for the Gauteng Education Department, speaking about, Banyaza Lesufi being the face of this vaccination program. Hence, he will be kicking off today's program by also receiving the J&J vaccine.
I suppose our viewers will do with that information what they will. Ziyanda Ngcobo, thanks very much for that. Live to us there in Johannesburg this morning. Let's take you to Mpumalanga, where health and education MECs will also launch the COVID-19 vaccine rollout for teachers. That's in Kanyamazane, just outside Bombela this morning. Mweli Masilela is live there for us. Mweli, what's the state of readiness where you are?
Good morning, Michelle. Well, it seems like from the side of the Department of Education and that of Health here in the province, it's all systems go according to them. You can see just behind me already, there is some activity going on here in Kanyamazane. There's some officials from both departments ready to prepare for today's inoculation process. We know that according to the two departments already, 24,000 doses of the vaccine have arrived here in the province out of the 300,000 that you've been talking about, Michelle. But it will be interesting to see if indeed this particular process will be smooth, considering the fact that during the two previous processes we saw that there were some glitches, especially on the side of the inoculation of elderly citizens of the province. We know that they were complaining about quite a number of things, to say that there were no ablution facilities, for example, prepared for them. And you found that in some vaccination sites, Michelle, you found that there was only one person doing the vaccination there. So it will be interesting to see if that the government of the province has thrown some lessons from those challenges that were experienced in the past. But looking into the number of educators in the province, we've got about 34,000 of educators in the province. So according to the department, they are hoping that within the space of 14 days, they will have been done in terms of administering those jabs to the educators. And they are saying that they are not only concentrating on educators that are employed by the government, they are also looking into educators employed in the private sector. They are also looking into support staff at school as well, and also ECD educators as well. So we'll see, Michelle, in terms of how this process unfolds, because we know that Mpumalanga is a rural province, so we can't be only concentrating on towns and suburbs. So it will be interesting to see if indeed also teachers that are in rural communities are catered for, Michelle.
Well, before we let you go, you've been there this morning. What's the level of excitement? We know that teachers have some time, and it's not the only sector, but certainly teaching staff have had a lot of stress about being at the front line of the pandemic in many ways, with schooling continuing. Is there a lot of excitement there?
I would assume, Michelle, that there will be some level of excitement, especially on the side of educators, because these are people who've been actually, even if you are on the streets, you'll hear from their side saying that they are always in the classrooms teaching, and they are exposed to a number of learners and other colleagues in the learning environment. So really this will sort of come as a relief to some of them, even though we know that, Michelle, due to some of the challenges that have been experienced before and what has happened with some of the vaccines, many people and some people are actually skeptical about the vaccine. But it will be interesting to see as the teachers arrive here, because currently it's only just a handful, so it's quite difficult to read the level of excitement. So it's only officials from both the Department of Health and the Department of Education here in the province at this stage now that are more visible on the side. Yeah. So we'll be monitoring as educators come through in terms of the level of excitement. Are they ready or prepared to take the vaccine or not, Michelle?
Yeah, absolutely. Mweli Masilela, thanks very much for that. He's live to us there in Kanyamazane in Mpumalanga, and of course our senior reporter Ziyanda Ngcobo is in Tembisa in Gauteng as vaccinations of teachers kick off today. It's set to last over the next 10 days or so.